Let's talk about group lessons because that is where you will begin teaching. So let's start with the window. When you get a group lesson assigned, it'll appear on your schedule. You can click on it and see some additional information. The first thing I want you to notice is that you need to completely disregard the topic and the level. We can teach a potential of 5 group lesson topics a day within 24 hours. We have one topic for beginner, one for elementary, intermediate, upper intermediate, and advanced. It's the same 20 topics for every 24 hours. It won't be until you enter the lesson that you actually realize which lesson and which level you'll be teaching. So with that in mind, you will want to make sure that you prepare for each of these lessons. You'll click on the lesson and then the PowerPoint will show up. You'll want to enter the class no more than 5 minutes before the start time so that you don't get timed out of the queue. So essentially, when you enter the class, you are lined up with other teachers to have classes to teach the class. Of course, this is where you will grade your students, do the ACR, and you want to remember the time limit. So you do not have to do it in the 15 minutes before your next class. So keep in mind that group lessons are only 45 minutes, even though they are booked for the full hour. They're only 45 minutes. That leaves you 15 minutes to do the ACR, but you may want to take a break from the computer. So as long as those ACRs are submitted within 24 hours, you'll be fine. Let's go ahead and just talk about why we assign classes in real time rather than assigning classes as the level suggests. So when we assign classes in real time, we allow ourselves to be what our students need. So for private lessons, students book in advance, but group lessons do not. They do not. So whoever shows up for that half hour or hour spot, that's who it is. So by being flexible, we can be what our students need. Now, if you have a no class created, that is usually due to the fact that we have anticipated a higher student volume than there actually is. Let's talk about what it's like to preview the lesson. So under lesson content, you can click on each of the topics, and in a separate window, the PowerPoint for that comes up. You have your sidebar on the right that contains the outline, the notes, and the search button. The outline lists the slides. The notes contain the target language, the target grammar, and sometimes even the answers to the questions. The search feature allows you to search the language that's used in the sidebar. So again, you want to make sure to prepare for each 5 of the lessons. Let's talk about the basics now. So couple things. Make sure to prepare for all the topics as we have mentioned. Have each student introduce themselves. This is important because it allows them to begin speaking on something that they are familiar with. Just a tip, some teachers actually use the let's go question as part of the introduction. This allows them to use time management to their advantage. Keep in mind that you do not have to always wait for students to volunteer. You can also directly call on them. And of course, you want to limit our teaching talk time and encourage that conversational class. Make sure that you have given each student enough time to participate on the final task, and encourage the students to do the before you go questions after you've left the class. And of course, don't forget to unsync the slides before you go. Tech issues are one of our biggest enemies, so let's go ahead and talk about them. Couple tips here. Tip 1, make sure to have pre-typed messages you can use to solve normal tech issues. So I have several messages that I copy and paste in the chat pod when a student is having tech issues. Next, recommend that the students refresh their classroom and use the I'm having a problem button. This allows them to sort out their own issues. Let's talk about our students just briefly. So remember that they come from a variety of backgrounds. It is possible that each student entering the group lesson has their own package. So it's not like they need to come to class prepared, as our private lesson students often do. Many students only attend group lessons, and while there is one level they should be at, the actual level they are may vary somewhat. Beginner students provide a unique challenge, but I'm sure you're up for it. Make sure to speak clearly and slowly, keeping your sentences very simple and short. Make sure to model the target language whenever possible and provide examples that your students mention, as well as maybe some that you can add. And then have the students read all of the things aloud and speak as much as possible. This might be discouraging, but some students choose not to participate. Remember, it's not always because of disinterest. There are often a variety of reasons. Sometimes their baby's crying, or maybe they're at work, or maybe they're having tech issues. So treat everyone as equals, because everyone is able to give you an ES score. Greet them, acknowledge them, and encourage them. So welcome them to class. If they have this symbol, say, I see that you don't want to participate today. If you change your mind, we would love to have you. And then perhaps later in the lesson, you could again reach out and encourage them. They will appreciate this. Now, I would love to say that I've never had a class where no one participates, but that's simply not true. Occasionally, this does happen. So what do you do if no one participates? First of all, remember to stay positive. You'll want to go through the material yourself, maybe explaining a few things you would have brought out, and volunteer to answer the questions. You'll want to stay in the classroom for the full 45 minutes, so you don't get to end the class just because no one is participating. Oftentimes, teachers stay and offer to answer any of the questions that they may have, and sometimes they get responses in the chat pod, and sometimes they do not. Don't take on that awkwardness yourself. So just allow the students to their choice, their freedom of choice, and don't take on that awkwardness, that awkward silence yourself. And then, of course, after the class is over, make sure to just kind of breathe and relax and remember that you did your best. If you do have problems, make sure to use Contact Us with student problems or tech issues. And then, of course, you also have your mentor during your probationary period. And don't forget about Ning. It's another great place to go if you need to vent or get ideas. We also want to make sure that all of us are trying to improve our skills. So make sure to attend webinars if you can, or share best practices, ask questions, and always focus on improving. Let's go ahead and practice our introductions and how we would start a group lesson in the next part of our final meeting.